Today, we're talking about something that honestly has the power to change your life if you actually follow through with it. We're talking about how to get started on YouTube, and not in some vague, motivational only kind of way. I mean the real, practical, mental, and strategic steps you can actually follow if you want to stop thinking about starting a channel and finally get one off the ground. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Influence Catalyst. I'm Eric Dean, and I wanted to make this video because a lot of people say they want to start on YouTube, but when it comes time to actually do it, they get stuck. They get stuck on the name, they get stuck on the camera, they get stuck on what niche to choose, they get stuck on whether they're interesting enough, whether they know enough, or whether they need better gear, whether now is the right time, whether the market is too crowded, if somebody else is already doing it better, and before you know it, weeks turn into months and months turn into years, and you still have not posted that first video. The truth is, starting on YouTube is not complicated, but it does require clarity, it requires action, and it requires the willingness to move before you feel fully ready. So in this video, I want to walk you through this in a step-by-step way. If you've been waiting for somebody to just lay it out and simply and clearly tell you how to get started on YouTube, I'm going to break down the mindset you need, the decisions you need to make, and the mistakes you need to avoid, and an actual path that will get you started on YouTube. And I want to say this right out of the gate. Starting a YouTube channel is not just about making videos. It's about building influence, and it's about building trust. It's about putting your message into the world in a way that can keep working for you long after you hit publish. That's one of the reasons I believe so strongly in YouTube as a platform. This platform gives regular people the ability to create leverage. A video you make today can still be found weeks, months, or years from now. It can still help people. It can still build your brand. It can still bring in opportunity and introduce people to your ideas. And that's powerful. So let's get into it, and let's do it the right way, step by step. Step 1. Get clear on why you want to start. The very first step in starting on YouTube has nothing to do with cameras, thumbnails, editing software, or video ideas. The first step is getting clear on why you want to do this in the first place. And I know some people want to skip over that because it sounds too simple or too soft, but this matters more than you realize. If you don't know why you're starting, you'll quit the second it gets inconvenient. You'll quit when your first few videos don't get a ton of views. You'll quit when you feel awkward on camera. You'll stop filming when life gets busy, and you won't do anything when somebody leaves a dumb comment, and that will definitely happen. You'll quit when your growth is slower than you expected. Your why is what keeps you going when the results are not there yet. Maybe you want to build a personal brand. Maybe you want to help people with something you already know. Maybe you want to grow your business. Maybe you want a side income, a side hustle, or a side store. Maybe you want financial freedom to document your journey. Maybe you've been sitting on knowledge, experience, or ideas that you know could make a difference for someone else. Whatever it is, you need to define it, and not in some generic way, like, I just want to be successful. I mean, really define it. For me, one of the biggest reasons I believe in content is because content creates influence, and influence creates opportunity. When you consistently show up online with value, people start to trust you. When people trust you, and doors open. It may not happen overnight, but it absolutely happens over time. That is why I think this matters so much. If you treat YouTube like a random hobby that you may or may not do whenever you feel like it, that's exactly how your results will look. But if you see it as a vehicle for building influence, reach, credibility, and momentum, you'll take it significantly more seriously. So before you do anything else, ask yourself this question. Why do I want to start a YouTube channel? And what do I want it to lead to? Get honest about that, because your answer will shape everything else in your business. Step number 2 is to pick a clear direction. Once you know what you want to start and why you want to start it, the next step is deciding what direction your channel is actually going to go. This is where a lot of people start spinning in circles because they think they need to have the perfect niche figured out before they can get started. And yes, having clarity helps, but a lot of people use that as an excuse to never move. They keep thinking about their channel instead of building one. Here's a simpler way to think about it. Your channel needs a clear lane. It does not have to be perfect. It does not have to lock in forever, but it does need a lane. People need to understand what kind of content they're coming to you for. If your channel is all over the place from day one, it's harder to build momentum, and it's harder for people to know why they should subscribe. A really easy framework for this: build your channel around what you have done, what you're doing, or what you're learning. That's one of the cleanest ways to start. What have you done that other people want help with? What are you actively doing right now that people would find interesting or useful? Or what are you learning that you can document and share as you go? You don't have to be the #1 expert in the world. You just have to be able to bring value, perspective, or experience. That is an important mindset shift because a lot of people disqualify themselves too early. They think, who am I to talk about this? Who am I to teach about that? Who am I to share this? But YouTube is full of people helping others simply by being a few steps ahead, or by being relatable, or showing a process in an honest way. Expertise matters for sure, but so does authenticity and clarity, and most importantly, consistency. When you pick your direction, think about sustainability. What can you realistically talk about for 50 videos? Not 1, not 3, 50. Because your channel is not built on one idea. It's built on a body of work. So pick something that has depth, pick something that you care enough about to keep showing up for, and pick something that gives you room to grow. Step number 3, and one of the most important ones, is stop waiting to feel ready. This step is more mental than technical, but it's absolutely one of the most important. You've got to stop waiting to feel ready. One of the biggest lies people tell themselves is that they'll start when they have more confidence, more time, more money, more gear, more clarity, or just a general better setup. And on the surface, that sounds reasonable, but most of the time, it's your fear wearing a disguise. You do not need to become confident and then start. You start, and then confidence begins to grow. You don't need to get comfortable on camera before making videos. You make videos, and that's how you start becoming more comfortable on camera. You don't need to magically wake up one day with creator energy and on-screen presence and think that that's just going to happen. You build that by doing the work. You build that by hitting record, and you build that by putting in the reps. I think this is where a lot of people get themselves stuck. They treat YouTube like something they need to fully master before they even begin. But it definitely doesn't work that way. The first video is supposed to feel awkward. The early ones are supposed to be imperfect. Your delivery is going to improve, your pacing and your editing style are going to improve, you're going to get better at making thumbnails, and you're going to understand what works is going to improve on your channel. But none of that can improve until you actually begin. There is no prize for the person who planned the perfect channel in their head 2 years ago and never posted. The growth goes to the person who decides to move. That is why I tell people all the time, on here or in person, momentum matters more than perfection in the beginning. Perfect is not the goal. Progress is the goal, action is the way, and repetition is something you've got to do to succeed. Step number 4 is to use what you already have. Now let's get into the practical side of this because it is where people tend to create excuses. A lot of beginners think they need expensive equipment to start on YouTube. They think they need the perfect camera, the perfect lens, a great microphone, the perfect office setup, great editing software, and all this other stuff before they make one decent video. And I'm telling you right now, that mindset will delay your progress for no good reason. Use what you already have. If you have a smartphone with a decent camera, you can start. If you have natural light from a window, you can get started. If you have a quiet room in your house, you can make your first video. A simple tripod, a phone setup, and a decent $40 microphone off of Amazon will be all you need to create quality that people care about in the beginning. It's not about cinematic production, it's clarity, consistency, and action. Can they hear you? Can they understand you? Can they see you? And is your content useful, interesting, and engaging? Now yes, better equipment can help over time. Better audio definitely helps. Better lighting can frame your shots in a unique way. But none of that matters more than actually getting in the game. If you want your setup to be perfect, you're probably not going to start. So start with what you have and upgrade as you go. And that's how most people should do it anyway. There's also something powerful about beginning with simplicity because it keeps your focus where it belongs. If you're just getting started, you don't need to become a camera nerd, a lighting expert, a color grading specialist, and an advanced editor all at once. You need to learn how to communicate. You need to learn how to structure your video, and you need to learn how to deliver value to those who keep coming back to your channel over and over. You need to learn how to keep showing up, and that's enough for the beginning. Step number 5 is to build your channel around the viewer. This is a huge one, and it's where a lot of new creators mess up without even realizing it. Your channel cannot be just about what you want to say. It has to be built around what the viewer needs, wants, questions, struggles with, or is curious about. And that's one of the biggest mindset shifts you need to make if you want your content to actually connect. A lot of beginners make videos that are too centered on themselves. They title videos in ways that make sense to them, but not to the audience. They make content based on whatever random thought hits them that day without ever asking anyone if they would actually click on it. They talk too much about themselves before giving the viewer a reason to care. And that's not because they're selfish. It's because they have not learned yet that good YouTube content starts with the audience. The question is not just, what do I want to make? The question is, what would actually help, interest, entertain, or move the person on the other side of the screen? What are they searching for? What are they struggling with? What do they want to understand better? What do they want to avoid? What result are they looking for? The more you start thinking like that, the more your content begins to improve. That doesn't mean you have to make fake or robotic videos. It doesn't mean you can't bring your personality into it. It means your personality becomes the delivery system, but the value is still for the viewer. The best channels understand this balance. They feel personal, but they stay audience focused. They feel real, but they still solve a problem, tell a story, or answer a question. And in the end, they provide a result that their viewer is looking for. Step number 6 is to choose video topics that actually give you a chance. Once you understand that YouTube has to be audience-centered, the next step is to choose video topics that actually make sense. This is a skill all by itself. And early on, you do not need to overcomplicate it. The easiest place to start is with useful, clear, understandable topics that people are already interested in. One of the best things you can do as a beginner is to make videos that answer questions. How to do something, what to avoid, what to expect, the truth about something, beginner mistakes, best tools, step-by-step breakdowns, lessons learned, things I wish I knew sooner. Those kind of topics work because they naturally connect to what people are already searching for. You don't need to reinvent YouTube in your first 10 videos. You need to get in the game with ideas that give people a reason to click. And that's another big thing that's worth saying. Being original doesn't always mean making something nobody's ever talked about. Sometimes originality is your perspective, your story, your delivery, examples, your style, and your energy on a topic that people already care about. So if you're just starting, don't get paralyzed trying to come up with some impossible genius concept. Focus on making something useful and clickable. Focus on making something that has a clear promise. Focus on making something where the viewer can instantly understand the why and why it matters. That is a much stronger starting point than trying to be wildly creative before you even know how to make a solid video. Mapping out your first 10 videos. One of the smartest things you can do when you're a brand new channel is to not just think about your first video. Think about your first 10. This is a big deal because if you only focus on one video, you can accidentally put way too much pressure on it. You start treating that first upload like it has to be amazing, like it has to define your whole future, like it has to blow up, or else you're gonna not cut it on YouTube. That's the wrong mindset. Your first 10 videos should be about building momentum, skill, familiarity with the process, and getting comfortable on camera. When you map out 10, you stop acting like everything depends on the first one. You start thinking like a creator instead of a spectator. You start building a system instead of chasing one moment. A great first 10 might include an introduction to your channel, a video about why you started, a beginner's guide to your niche, kind of like this video, a mistakes video, a personal story, tutorials, lifestyle videos, answering common questions, and a video about what you've learned so far. That's enough to get moving. That's enough to get some reps, and that's enough to start learning what feels good, what the audience responds to, and where you want to go deeper. And here's the beautiful part. You don't need to know everything before you make those videos. You just need enough clarity to get you started. Your channel will evolve, your style will change, your confidence will grow, but you've got to give yourself enough runway to become successful on YouTube. On to step number 8, where we learn how to package our content. Now let's talk about something that beginners underestimate all the time, and that's packaging. Packaging means your title and your thumbnail. You can make a great video, but if nobody clicks on it, the video never gets a real chance. This is one of the hardest truths for creators to accept, especially when they care a lot about what they just made. But clickability matters, and it very much determines the outcome of your videos. Your title needs to create a reason to care. Your thumbnail needs to visually support that reason. And the best packaging is usually clear, simple, emotionally direct, and makes a user want to click. It makes the viewer feel like this video is relevant to them, and it makes them curious, interested, or compelled. It helps them instantly understand the value or the tension of the video. A big mistake that beginners make is trying to say too much. Their thumbnail has too many words, their title is too long or too confusing, the message is not immediately clear, and on YouTube, clarity wins. You want someone scrolling to understand your video fast, what it's about, and why they should click and watch yours. This is a skill that gets better with time, but you should respect it from day one. Even if your first thumbnails are simple, take them seriously. Even if your first 10 titles are not perfect, think them through, because packaging is not decoration. Packaging is the viewer's first impression. It's the bridge between your content and your subscribers. Step number 9 is to hit record before you overthink it again. At a certain point, all the learning, all the planning, and all the strategy has to turn into action. There comes a moment where you have to stop studying YouTube and actually start being a YouTuber. And for a lot of people, that moment gets delayed again and again because they keep finding one more thing to fix, one more video to watch, one more course to consider, or one more idea to test. Those are just one more excuses. But there's no substitute for hitting record. None. That is where this becomes real. That is where all your fear gets exposed, but it's also where your growth begins. Your first video might not be great. Your second might not be either. But if you keep going, you begin building the one thing that no amount of theory can replace, and that is experience. Experience teaches you what your energy feels like on camera. It teaches you what kind of structure works for your style. It teaches you whether you ramble too much, talk too fast, or need better transitions. It teaches you whether your ideas are actually clear when spoken out loud. It teaches you whether your content is helping people, and most importantly, it teaches you that you can do this. There is something really powerful that happens when you finally post that first video. You stop being someone who says they want to start a channel, and you become someone who started one. And that identity shift matters. It changes how you think. It changes how you show up, and it changes the limitations and possibilities you have to grow your channel. Step number 10 is to accept that the first phase is about reps. The next step is one that I wish more people understood earlier. The beginning of YouTube is not mainly about results. It's about reps, practice, and getting better. It's about building the muscle memory. Too many people judge themselves way too early by outcome when they should be focused on improvement. In the beginning, every video is teaching you something. Every upload is giving you feedback. Every awkward recording is making you feel a little less awkward. Every thumbnail is sharpening your eye. Every title is helping you understand what makes people curious. And every video that underperforms is still moving you forward if you're paying attention. That is why I think people need to stop being so dramatic about early numbers. Yes, we all want views. We all want growth. And yes, it's exciting when someone hits that like button. But the early phase is not the time to act like your whole future depends on one upload. The early phase is where you can earn your skills. It's where you prove that you're serious. It's where you separate yourself from the people who only liked the idea of YouTube from the people who are actually willing to build something. So if your first few videos don't take off, good. Keep going. If your early thumbnails are rough, good. Keep learning. If you feel weird watching yourself back, welcome to the club. Keep moving. This phase is normal, it's necessary, and this phase is where real creators are made. Step number 11 is create a posting rhythm you can actually sustain. One of the quickest ways to burn yourself out is to make promises you cannot keep. That's why when you're getting started, you need to create a posting rhythm that is ambitious enough to create momentum, but realistic enough that you can actually stick with it. Consistency matters a lot more than random bursts of effort. A lot of people start off hot. They get inspired, they say they're going to post every single day, shoot like crazy, edit all night, and go all in. Then life hits, energy drops, and the whole thing falls apart. That's the kind of inconsistency that destroys momentum. It also messes with your confidence because now you start associating your channel with broken promises to yourself. I would rather see somebody commit to one strong video a week and actually do it than talk about uploading every day and disappear after 6 days. You need a rhythm that fits your real life. It needs to work with your schedule, your energy, your responsibilities, and your current skill level. You can always increase later, but you need to start with something sustainable. And let me say this too. Consistency is not just about pleasing the algorithm. It's about building trust with yourself. Every time you follow through, you reinforce the identity of someone who does what they said they would do. That matters. It builds confidence, it builds self-respect, and it builds momentum. On to step number 12, which is that you need to get better at talking to the camera. This is one of the most uncomfortable parts for beginners, but it's also one of the most important. You have to get better at talking to the camera. And the only way to do that is to talk to the camera. There's no shortcut around it. You can read tips, you can study good communicators, you can improve your setup, but at the end of the day, you've got to develop the ability to connect through the lens. And that can mean a lot of things, but mostly it means learning to talk like a real person, not trying to talk like a robot to sound too smart. It means learning how to speak clearly, stay focused, and bring energy without sounding fake. It means learning how to open strong, hold attention, and land a point. It means learning how to tell stories, use examples, and make the viewer feel like you are there talking to them, not at them. This is one area where teleprompter style structure can help a lot, especially early on, because it keeps you from rambling and it helps you stay on message. But even then, the goal is not to sound scripted. The goal is to sound natural, confident, and clear. And that gets better with practice. You'll find your rhythm, you'll find your pace, and you'll find your voice. But you've got to put in the reps. And I want to encourage you here because almost nobody likes how they sound or look on camera at first. And that's normal. But the more that you do it, the less weird it becomes. Eventually, the camera starts feeling like a place where you can deliver, not a place where you freeze. By the way, if you're getting value out of this and this kind of content lights a fire under you, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the Influence Catalyst, because this channel is all about helping real people build real influence online. Not just for the sake of views, but for the sake of content that actually moves your life forward. And if that sounds like your kind of channel, you're in the right place. Step number 13 is to learn basic editing, but don't hide behind it. Editing matters, but a lot of beginners get distracted by editing. They start thinking the magic is in the transitions, the zoom cuts, the captions, the effects, music, the B-roll, the sound design, and all the other things that can make a video look polished. And yes, those things can help, but they're not the foundation. The foundation is the idea and the delivery. You should absolutely learn enough editing to clean up your videos, tighten up the pacing a bit, and make the content easier to watch. But do not use editing as a way to avoid getting better on camera. Don't use editing as a crutch for weak ideas. Don't spend 10 hours trying to make a boring video look exciting, instead of spending more time learning how to make stronger content in the first place. Some of the best videos on YouTube are actually pretty simple from an editing standpoint. What makes them work is clarity, relevance, strong structure, and a compelling host or message. So yes, Learn the basics. Learn how to trim dead space. Learn how to cut mistakes. Learn how to improve the flow. Learn how to support where it helps. But remember that editing is there to support the message, not to replace it. And step number 14 is to learn what works without becoming a copycat. And this is a big one for growth. If you want to get better, you need to study YouTube. Not obsess over it in an unhealthy way, but actually study it. Pay attention to the creators in your space who are doing well. What kind of titles are they using? What kind of thumbnails are getting clicks? How are they opening their videos? How are they structuring information? What keeps you watching? What makes something feel clear, exciting, helpful, or compelling? This is not about becoming a copycat. It's about becoming a student. There's nothing wrong with learning from what works. In fact, you should. The problem is when people either copy too directly or they refuse to study at all because they think it compromises their originality. But real creators know how to learn from patterns without losing themselves. You can borrow structure without copying personality. You can learn from pacing without stealing language. You can understand what makes something clickable without turning it into a clone. In the beginning especially, studying the platform gives you a much better sense of what good content actually looks like. And that is valuable because a lot of beginners are trying to play a game they have not really taken the time to understand. 15 is to not obsess about going viral. And let's talk about that. One of the most dangerous traps for beginners is trying to go viral, and that is an obsession. Everybody loves the idea of explosive growth. Everybody wants a breakthrough video. Everybody dreams about posting something and waking up to thousands of subscribers. And sure, that happens sometimes. But if that's the expectation you build your channel around, you are probably setting yourself up for disappointment. The goal when you're starting should not to be virality. The goal should be to get better, get clear, and get consistent. And you've heard me say that a lot. Viral moments are unpredictable. Skill is not. Momentum is not. Consistency is not. And improvement is not. If you chase virality too hard, you can end up making desperate content, copying trends that don't fit you, or getting discouraged every time a video performs normally. I would much rather see someone build a channel the right way than get one lucky pop with no foundation behind it, because the truth is, sustainable growth comes from repeatable value. It comes from understanding your audience. It comes from making content that connects over and over again. It comes from becoming the kind of creator who can earn attention, not just stumble into it. If a video takes off, great. Learn from it. But don't build your emotional state around whether the algorithm blesses you this week. Build your channel around the kind of work you can stand on. Step number 16 is to let your personality become part of the brand. One of the beautiful things about YouTube is that people don't just subscribe for information. They subscribe for connection. They subscribe because they like how you explain things, how you tell stories, or how you make them feel with the energy that you bring, what perspective you have to them, and how you show up. And that's why your personality probably matters more than you think. A lot of beginners are so focused on not messing up that they hide themselves. They try to sound too polished, too perfect, too careful, too professional. And in the process, they become forgettable. Now, that does not mean you need to act wild or forced. It means you need to let your natural style come through. Your humor, honesty, point of view, your rhythm, your edge. Your way of saying things that's part of what makes your content yours. And over time, your personality becomes part of the reason people return. They may come for the topic, but they stay for the creator. That's where the brand starts to form. That's where trust deepens. That's where influence compounds. So do not be afraid to let more of yourself show up on camera. That becomes the real asset over time. Step 17 is to treat every video as a building block. When you're first starting, it's easy to think of every video as a test. Did this one work? Did this one fail? Did this one flop? Did this one get enough views? But a better way to think about it is that every video is a building block. Every video is part of a larger body of work. Every video is teaching the audience who you are, what you do, and why they should come back for more. This mindset matters because it keeps you from getting too emotional over individual outcomes. It keeps you focused on the bigger picture. You're not just posting videos, you're building a library, a catalog, a public body of evidence that you show up, that you have something to say, that you care about helping people, and that you're committed to your message. That is powerful. And the longer you do it, the more those building blocks stack. A channel starts to be for real when there is a depth behind it. When someone clicks on a video and sees there are plenty more. When they can binge your content. When they can start recognizing your style. When your body of work begins to reinforce your credibility, and that doesn't happen with one upload, it happens with repetition. Step number 18 is to use feedback, but don't let it break you. YouTube is one of the greatest feedback machines in the world. The platform gives you data, the audience gives you reactions, the comments give you insight, your own experience gives you signals if you're paying attention. There is always something to learn, but you have to learn how to receive feedback without letting it crush your momentum. Some feedback will be useful, some comments will reveal confusion in your delivery or point out what people want more of. Some videos will show you that a topic was stronger than you thought, and some thumbnails will show you that your packaging probably needs work. That kind of feedback is gold. Use it, learn from it, pivot, and adjust from it. But as we all know, there's the other kind. The random negativity, the lazy criticism, the people who project their own junk onto your video, the people who act like they could do it better even though they're not doing anything. You cannot let that stuff get into your head. If you do, you'll start creating from fear instead of purpose. And that's when your content gets weaker. The goal is not to become emotionally numb. The goal is to become grounded enough that you can listen without collapsing. Learn from what helps, ignore what is just noise, and keep moving forward. Step 19 is to understand that you're building more than a channel. This is a really important step mentally because I think a lot of creators think too small at first. They think they're just making videos. But if you stay consistent, you're building way more than that. You're building communication skills, you're building confidence, you're building a personal brand. You are building authority. You're building trust and digital assets that can keep working for you over time. A lot of people only look at YouTube through the lens of views and subscribers, but those are not the only outcomes that matter. Content can lead to business. Content can lead to sales, opportunities, partnerships, and relationships that you wouldn't have had otherwise. Content can lead to credibility and a real shift in who you become over time. That is exactly why I think a lot of people need to take this seriously. Not in a pressure-filled way, but in a purposeful way. This is not just uploading random clips to the internet. This is creating leverage, documenting your message, building influence in a world that increasingly rewards people who know how to show up online. And finally, step number 20, commit before the results show up. And this last step is probably the one that separates the people who actually build something from the people who always stay on the sidelines. You have to commit before the results show up. That is where the real test is. It's easy to stay motivated when the views are coming in, when the comments are positive, when the subscribers are showing up, and when the momentum feels obvious. But what about before all that? What about when it's quiet? What about when the response feels small? What about when it feels like you're putting in work and the payoff isn't there yet? That is where commitment matters. That's where belief matters, and that's where your why comes back into the picture. Because most creators don't lose confidence because they were not capable. They lose because they stopped too soon. They were looking for evidence before they have done enough work to deserve it. They want certainty in a game that rewards consistency. If you can commit to the process before the applause, you put yourself in a very different category. If you can keep showing up while you're still growing, still learning, and figuring it out, you create the possibility for something real. That is what it takes. Not perfection, not immediate results, not genius, commitment. So if you're watching this right now and you've been sitting on the idea of starting a YouTube channel, let me tell you something clearly. You do not need another 6 months of thinking about it. You do not need to wait until every little detail is lined up. You do not need to become a different person first. You need to start. You need to choose your direction, get your first videos lined up, use what you have, hit record, and start building. Because the truth is, YouTube can absolutely change your life. Not because it's easy, not because it's guaranteed, but because it gives you a place to build something that belongs to you. A voice, a message, a platform, a body of work, and a chance. And for a lot of people, that chance is worth a whole lot more than they realize. So start messy if you need to. Start simple if you can. Start scared if that's where you're at. But start. Because every day you wait, somebody else is learning, growing, posting, improving, and building the thing you keep talking yourself out of. This is your moment to get in the game. This is your moment to stop consuming and start creating. This is your moment to stop making excuses and start making content. And if you do that, if you stay with it, if you keep improving, if you keep showing up, I really believe this can become one of the best decisions you'll ever make. And if you haven't seen my video on picking a topic for your channel, go ahead and check this one out right here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.